Time management. Yeah. I think one of the most, a great goal in life would be to not have to be in a given place at a given time. That is a recent vector that I'm trying to work towards. Obviously, it's not fully realistic. You have meetings and stuff, but at a even more basic level, you have a job, right? Most of us have jobs. We got to go in a certain time of the day and can't come back to a certain time. And somebody else is telling us what to do all day long. And I think it's really worth, whenever you can in life, if you have the choice, optimizing for independence rather than optimizing for pay. Because if you have independence and you're just accountable, let's say, on your output as opposed to your input, that's the dream, being accountable for your output rather than your input. We're used to, humans evolved in societies where there was no leverage. So if I was chopping wood or carrying water for you, you knew that roughly 8 hours put in would be equal to about 8 hours of work that came out. But now we've invented leverage through capital, through co-working, through technology, through productivity, through all these means. So we live in an age of leverage. And as a worker, you want to be as leveraged as possible so that your work has a huge impact and it won't take as much of your time or physical effort. Like you'd rather work with a bulldozer than work with your hands, the same way you'd rather work with a computer than you would with a pencil. So those are just forms of leverage. So you want to use as much leverage as possible. And a leverage worker can outproduce a non-leverage worker by a factor of 1,000 or 10,000. And with a leverage worker, the choice of how they make the decision is far more important. Their judgment is far more important than how much time they put in or how hard they worked. So, for example, a good software engineer, just by writing the right little piece of code and creating the right little application, can literally create $500 million worth of value for a company. But 10 engineers working 10 times as hard just because they chose the wrong model or the wrong product or wrote it the wrong way or put in the wrong viral loop or what have you, they basically wasted their time. So inputs don't match outputs, especially for leveraged workers. And so what you want to do in life is you want to be in control of your own time. So you want to get into a leveraged job, and then you want to get into one where you control your own time and you're tracked on the outputs. That would be the ideal, because then if you do something incredible to move the needle on the business, they're going to have to pay you, and they're going to have to pay you. And especially if they don't know how you did it, because it's innate to kind of your obsession or your skill or your innate abilities, then they're going to have to keep paying you to do it. This goes back to what I talked about in the first podcast. If you have specific knowledge, you have accountability, and you have leverage, then they have to pay you what you're worth. And if they pay you what you're worth, then you can get your time back. And if you get your time back, then you can be hyper efficient. Then you're not doing meetings for meetings' sake. Then you're not trying to impress other people. You're not building checklists and writing down lots of things just to kind of make it look like you did work. All you care about is the actual work itself. And when you do just the actual work itself, you'll be far more productive, far more efficient. You'll work when you're kind of feel like it, when you're high energy, and you won't be trying to struggle through when you're low energy, and you'll regain your time back. So I think choosing what kinds of jobs and careers and fields you get into and what sort of deals you're willing to take from your employer, assuming you have that luxury, will give you much more free time, and then you don't have to worry as much about time management. The image that I like to put in my own head, what I would love to do is I would love to be paid purely for my judgment, not for any work. I want the robots to do the work. Or capital or dollars being deployed somewhere out there to do the work, or computers to do the work. But I want to be paid for my judgment. And I think every human should aspire to that, where we're eventually just becoming knowledgeable, or we are knowledgeable about certain things, and we're being paid for that unique thing. And we have as much leverage as is possible in that business, whether it's through robots or computers or what have you. And then we can also be masters of our own time, because we're just being tracked in outputs and not inputs.